Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. This is the Kill Cliff Podcast, brought to you in collaboration with the guys from Entreprenerds Comedy. We got a real cool show today. I'm pretty excited about it. Before we get that started, I just want to give a shout-out to the artist Ron Gallo. He's bringing in us the intro music today, and that song is called Young Lady, You're Scaring Me. So we just want to say thanks for that. But with that said, John, what do we got going on today?
We have Robbie from McDojoLife. Robbie, he's a black belt in multiple martial arts. He's got a purple belt in another martial art. He's a former amateur boxer. He was on a karate team that toured around internationally. This guy, aside from being in martial arts for 22 years, he's known best for his work on YouTube, on Instagram, under McDojoLife. If you haven't seen it, he takes fraudsters and people peddling all kinds of bullshit martial arts, and he calls them out and he puts them out on blast for the shenanigans they're putting online. And he's got just a phenomenal amount of hits and followers on social media. Check him out on social media. We're really happy to have him here with us today. Robbie from McDojoLife. Let's get this thing going.
I love the name of your podcast.
Let the boy watch.
It was like every 80s rock video.
Crafting with strawberry milk.
Good luck to me.
If I said that without making eye contact, it would have been way better.
This is our intern, Tyler.
So no one listening yet anyways. This guy sucks. The juice is flowing.
Maybe just whack him across the face with a corn cob.
It's going to go great. Thank you. All right, guys. Listen, we are not really live, but we're here with Robbie from McDojoLife.
What's going on?
Robbie, thanks for joining us here, man, and we're excited to have you. If you don't know, McDojoLife is your Instagram feed, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And if you real quickly, if you could just describe to us what you do and what is your mission at McDojoLife.
Well, it's pretty simple. Like McDojoLife is a brand, a web entity, if you will, because I bought the website and have yet to put it up, so I can't even say it's a website yet because I'm lazy sometimes. But yeah, basically I call out fakes, frauds, and phonies in the martial arts. People who con people, people who scam people, pedophiles, things like that. I have 5 pretty specific rules in terms of like who I go after, so that way my ego doesn't get involved. But yeah, I've been at McDojoLife for about 6 years now, calling out frauds. It's an awesome job.
And McDojoLife, that you're on the gram, you're on YouTube, everything's under. If somebody just looks up McDojoLife, they'll find you.
Yeah, man. And luckily now, because like the brand is growing, if you type in McDojoLife into Google, you'll probably go through like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 pages of nothing but McDojoLife from other people's stuff. So that's pretty cool too.
That is cool. Be other people sharing your stuff. Right on, man. Well, hey, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It feels good to be here. And plus, I'm in my house right now, which is also nice. So I get to be nice and comfortable while we chit chat. Yeah,
that's it, man. When that was one of the reasons we're fascinated by you, the fact that you've been in martial arts for 22 years and you've taken what something was I guess a little more a hobby, but it's really a hobby, and start posting these videos, and you've taken it to where this is now your full-time gig, correct?
Yeah, man. I've been full-time since January, so pretty much all I do now is I wake up. I usually have a couple posts already kind of waiting in the wings, but sometimes I'll get a new post. I'm like, oh, I gotta post that today. That's so important. But yeah, I can do all that from the comfort of my house. Like, the hardest part about like doing a job like this at your house is the fact that you're doing it at your house. So like you have to have a little more self-discipline. Because I can just literally do everything from my phone. So like laying in bed till noon is a possibility. Right. It's just not a good one. So I try to like get up and move and exercise and still go train. But it's becoming a much bigger business than me at this point. But I still love it. Still love the job.
That's it. All right, man. Well, one of the things we're fascinated by is somebody who takes their passion, makes it a full-time job. We're in we're in my basement. So we understand.
I didn't know I'd moved in.
Yeah, it feels like it sometimes.
Did my wife kick me out? I didn't know that. I've just become aware of this.
Right. So what we wanted.
Basement.
What's that?
You got a good-looking basement.
It wasn't like this.
Yeah. Oh wait, if you zoomed out, you would see kids' toys and whips, chains, and that's just for Josh and I.
Yeah.
What is this big tub of lube and sex swing doing over here?
It's called a pleasure harness, Robbie. It's called a pleasure harness. Let's give it this respect it deserves.
If only you guys could smell what we smell.
Jesus.
usually got to pay double for that kind of action.
That's where you draw the line.
Smell.
Because we're about 3
Smell.
minutes into this podcast. It's only going to get darker from here.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us, what is your criteria? How do you decide what goes up?
Yeah, you said you have 5 things, right?
Yes, sir. I have 5 rules. So the thing about, like, there's a quote about power, and they say absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so basically what happens is when you're put in a position where you're putting people's careers and lives and reputations on the line, one, that's a big responsibility for lawsuit reasons, slander, liable. So I have to be able to have some proof of whatever they're doing wrong. And a lot of people consider McDojos like they have silly criteria, to me anyway. They're like, oh, well, they're just giving away black belts. Well, like, if you think about it, that's kind of a dumb criteria because based on skill, some people are getting black belts in like 2 years in jiu-jitsu. Like if you look at somebody like BJ Penn, who got his black belt in like what, 2, maybe 3 years or something like that. Like you can't say that that's a rule because it's a guideline. And so you can't use that as a marker for a McDojo because even jiu-jitsu academies do that. So I came up with 5 rules that I think everybody can agree on no matter what the art is. One
When you
is
say
no
rules,
touch
you talk about
knockouts.
rules for what you decide to post or what you
Yes.
consider to be frauds. Well, you when you started, you said fraudsters, philanderers. What was it?
Charlatans, shysters.
Charlatans.
Carnies.
A fun dictionary kind of play there. Yeah, but like it's not just that. I do consider these McDojos to me, but they also are mostly legal ramifications to most of these things as well. So like there are mostly laws against things like this. Like some of them there's not, but most of them there are. But I'll just go down the list. One is no touch knockouts. You can't knock people out with your mind. I'm sorry. To me, teaching people that you can knock people out with your mind, which as funny as that sounds, right? You hear that and you're like, that's just ridiculous, right? Well, there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people that actually believe this crap. And they're kind of a cult.
So, if you are listening to this podcast right now or watching it on YouTube, and you're suggesting that further into this podcast you are going to disprove the no touch knockout.
I can disprove it right now.
Well, friend, stand by because I'm about to send some shockwaves your way.
Terrifying. I think a ball just shrank. You have a talent, sir.
Right.
Oh, wait, it's just cold in here. But number 2 is lying about your belt rank or fight record.
Okay.
So there are people out there in this world who, just go, you know what? I'm a black belt, 13th degree black belt, and Steve Fu. It's like, well, it doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. But because there's no regulating body to the martial arts, they can just do that. And a lot of people are like, the one thing that I hate, oh my God, I hate so much, is when people go, oh, well, they're frauds. So what we're going to do is we're just going to keep doing the best that we can. And we're just going to ignore them. And we're going to do our thing. And they'll just go away. It's not a figment of your imagination, stupid. These people are real. They exist. And if they're across the street from you, believe it or not, they're still taking students from you, right? And so if you allow them to do so, you're putting yourself in a shitty position and you're putting people in harm's way, in my opinion.
So, lying about your belt rank and your fight record, is this something that, again, not being a guy who competes competitively, I prefer just to go out in the street and fight people just randomly rather than having like an organized fight. Is this something that is an industry-wide issue?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, and then even on social media, so I can even give you a couple things. Like what a lot of people will do in terms of lying about their belt rank is they'll go out and they'll start these organizations, and then they'll invite like their other fraudulent homies to join this organization, and then it seems much more legitimate because it's so-and-so organization, worldwide karate organization. It's bullshit. It's not a real thing, right? But then you have guys like Charlie Zillinoff who will say he's like 200 and something and where there's video of him clearly getting the shit beat out of him. So like you go to a boxing gym and you hear somebody's like 200 something and one, your eyes might roll, but some people might fall for it if he's a good talker, So it's just ridiculous to me. It's utter ridiculous.
Is it a lack of having criteria on what's considered a loss? Like a dude who's kind of like remember when Horseshank and Screech fought in celebrity boxing match, in a celebrity death match, I think?
Yeah.
On MTV. I don't think anybody was a clear winner. So Horseshack, Horseshack and Screech could both be claiming to be 1-0.
Yes.
Well,
that's a real thing. I mean, that's
Well, typically what happens is there's an athletic commission, and then the state athletic commission will give you your rankings. So you're not just like, if you ever go to like a boxing match or a fight, like there's an announcement made at the end of every fight. Like it was, 27-30 in victory of, or it was a tie or a draw. Like that's usually regulated by the state athletic commissions and lets you know, or the organization itself sometimes. So like a lot of times, like with smaller organizations like amateur rankings, you might not necessarily be able to keep track of that as much as well as professional, because in professional, they keep much more rigid track of what you do. But in like old school smoker fights, like I grew up in when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it would just be like, yeah, I just fought this dude and I won. And like, all right, cool. And then you kind of keep track of it yourself. But
you
usually
can even
there's
ask
some type
Billy.
of a record.
It was in the parking lot out behind the high school at 3:00. You can ask Billy and Tommy and Jimmy. They were there. They saw me win. Fucking A. I'm 1-0.
That's right.
In the high school parking lot.
Check World Star.
Man, you had a really good high school upbringing. I was like 1-57 or some shit like that. I got my ass beat all the time.
I lived getting my ass beat.
I was just a fast runner.
All right, so okay, lying about rank. What's next?
Shady business practices. So like I actually literally just posted one of these today, and up to this point I've never posted it before just because like they're fairly boring and they're not funny to watch, but I like to post them up just to remind people. But basically what happens is a big thing people will do is they'll open a gym, they'll sign people up, like first of all paid in full for a year, or big family contracts where there's a down payment up front that's huge, get you to pay for all these things up front. Long-term contracts. I don't think contracts are shady to me because I think both parties are agreeing. Right. But I do think it's shady when you invite somebody to pay in full for an entire year and then immediately shut your doors down the next month and move to another city under another name. That's pretty shady. And it happens all the time. Like I worked at gyms, like regular, like pump up, like workout gyms, like not even MMA gyms. Yeah. And I'd go teach like cardio kickboxing classes there. And then one day I'd like walk up and the door's just locked. And it's like, oh, well, you've closed and you didn't tell any of the employees or anyone who actually pays you. And it happens randomly to be the 5th of the month. Get the fuck out of here. We know what you're doing. You just took everybody's money and ran. It's jacked up, but it happens all the time.
Dirt bags.
Yeah. That's it. I think that's a universal criteria for a shady business practice.
Yeah, here's another cute one for you. Just one that I've seen in the art industry. Right, the average martial artist drops out after a year. This is a well-known statistic. If you're in jiu-jitsu, it's called the blue belt blues. Right, as soon as blue belt guy gets blue belt jiu-jitsu, you never see him again. Well, because the industry knows this, if you know anything about business, you can go, oh, well, I know that you're going to be dropping out after a year. So why don't I try to get you to re-sign up on your contract and make my belt rankings around the times that you're going to be leaving? So basically it's like it takes you, like, let's say a Taekwondo studio sometimes will do this where they'll go, okay, it'll take you 2 years to get your black belt. Well, I know you're dropping out after a year, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get ahead of the game and let you know, hey, I want to go ahead and get you re-signed up on your contract because it's about to be over, but your belt testing is in a month. Happens to be a month after your contract is over. Crazy. And then all of a sudden I get you to sign up on that contract because you know you're going to have a belt testing after that. I belt test you, then you're about to leave again. But guess what? Your black belt isn't going to happen until after your second contract is over. So, hey, man, we want to get you renewed. Guess what? In a month, we got you ready for your black belt test. Let's go and get you signed up so we can get you all scheduled for your black belt test. So now I have you on 3 years for a contract instead of just one, because I shortened my belt rankings, I made it easier for you to get, and I always put them just out of reach. So you have to pay me in order to get from point A to point B. And if you don't, you never will get to point B. So it's basically all monetary, has nothing to do with skill, you getting better, any type of like techniques that you have to know. It's all about the dough. And now I have you on the hook for 3 years. That's a big one in the industry.
Yeah, it's like a college degree almost.
Yeah. That's
you need to just keep paying.
You really got into the weeds there in the business component of it there.
It gets way dirtier than that, but that's the boring stuff most of the time. But the next one, unsafe training practices or cult-like behavior, that's the stuff I post all the time. Like
I'm talking about.
People standing in line while the instructor just starts teeing off on their face, or people like calling them super grandmaster while they're out and about. Like, dude, this guy's name is Phil. Like, his name is Phil. It is not super grandmaster Phil. It is not anything other than that. Like, that is such a weird thing to want to be called all the time. Like, where is your ego? And like, hey, Phil, why are you 26 years old and you're a supreme, awesome grandmaster, like 13th degree? Like, I think you're full of shit, Steve, Phil, Bob. You're lying. But that's just my opinion.
Funkmaster Flex, famous rapper. Is it appropriate to call him Funkmaster Flex in public?
If he wants to be called Funk Master or Master, it's a little different. Funk Master seems to be a little bit different connotation. What about if he was just like smack my ass leather master? That would be a much harder thing to say in public.
I would just come in for the kiss on that guy. There's no me too on that one.
Because no one's giving them these names other than themselves. There's no one said, hey, no one said, hey, you've earned your grandmaster title, super grandmaster.
Typically not. Like, usually, in most arts, there is a belt rank that you achieve that does give you the title of master. Like, most arts have that anyway. But typically, grandmaster, there's only one. In most arts, if that exists at all, like most people who are considered like the head honcho, it'd be like 5-star general, right? It's like, okay, how many are there? There's not 70 of you, or 4-star general. There's not like 1 million of you, right? And there's rank and pecking order that you have to go through to get to that point where you're promoted there. But like a lot of times when you have like these grandiose names, it's usually just made up by them. And they choose to do that because they rank themselves in their own system under their own name and started their own thing. So they could technically be called whatever they want. And again, that falls back on there's no regulating body to the martial arts. So they can do whatever they want because there's nobody saying they can't.
I think Grandmaster Flash would have a problem with that. He even says in his songs, "Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head." He's kind of sending. He's sending a message. One, he's Grandmaster Flash, and two, don't push him because he's close to the edge. I kind of feel like that guy's he's probably got a black belt. He is probably.
Dude, Big Papa Pump, Scotty Steiner.
I don't know. I kind of feel like we're poking holes in Robbie's theories
at that point, he should just move away from the edge. What's stopping him from just walking forward a couple steps? I mean, I think he'll be okay after that.
But I mean, that's a grandmaster. Yeah, I kind of feel like we're poking holes in your whole theory here. That wasn't our intent, but
maybe his way of thinking is higher than ours. That's the thing. He's more intelligent than we are. He's just going to stand closer to the edge. He knows something we don't.
Clearly,
that is. So number 5. Sorry, we got off the track. What number 5?
No, I think that's a good point. We need to look into this Grandmaster Flash theory here.
Let's stick here.
Start calling him out. What are you Grandmaster of?
What's up with that? The 5th one is pedophiles. I know that took a really hard right turn there. But yeah, it's pedophiles. And believe it or not, like if you just Google martial art molestation, martial arts fraud, just type anything martial arts related into Google, usually the first thing that pops up, which is the first thing I do almost every morning because I'm looking for stories and things to post, but the first thing that pops up almost always is someone got molested by a karate instructor. It happens almost every day. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's true. Almost every day someone's been molested by some type of a martial arts instructor in the United States or around the world.
This is an industry-wide problem.
It is. To me, it's more than just an industry-wide problem. People in the martial arts only care about other people in the martial arts. There is no consumer organization for the martial arts. Like, for instance, I'm looking to go into a martial arts studio. It's my first time. I've never done this before, or I'm buying lessons from my grandson. There is no hey, here's a guide on what to look for and what to do, and these are the red signs. It doesn't exist. And so basically what the page does mostly is I care a little bit more about the consumer and people who are like going and taking classes and stuff like that, then I really do care about the instructors or the people who've already been in it forever, or the owners, because the truth is that they're already looked after. Like, there are plenty of seminars you could take for martial arts business. You know, if you've been in the martial arts industry long enough, you start to see holes and people who are frauds and con artists. But if you're brand new, no one cares about you. They want you to sign up. They want your money. They don't care that you're looking for Taekwondo because you walked into a jiu-jitsu academy. They're going to sign you up on jiu-jitsu, you know? So the only people who really care about the consumer are the consumer. That's it. Nobody in the industry really seems to give a damn about them. And I think that that's sad, because that's why you get things like pedophiles existing in the arts. That's why you get shady business practices, because these new people are the ones getting caught on that stuff. And I think they should be aware of it.
So, yeah, our podcast is I mean, we like to find the levity and the humor and just about everything, but there actually is, just to get serious for just a second, there really is a community service component to what you're doing. It's not just for calling out these fraudsters who really have some funny shit out there. I mean, for the people who see the irony or like the absurdity in like somebody doing a no-touch knockout or using their brain waves to knock somebody down, or like very, very Benny Hinn-esque. If anybody remembers, Benny Hinn used to touch people in the, you know, on the pulpit, and they would just faint out of God's touch or whatever, right? So, but there really is a community service component where you are protecting people. One, I mean, obviously from pedophiles, but also from being, you know, scammed out of their money or being given a false sense of security because now they believe they can do a no-touch knockout. Somebody's going to come at them with a fucking gun or something, and all of a sudden they're like using their brain waves, and next thing they're on the concrete just getting the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to make it, you know, when I first started the page, I was all serious, right? I'd type up these long essays about why these instructors were ripping people off, all the little pertinent information that were red flags, go through and rip them apart, like go through their websites, find out as much about them as I could, put them on blast. But no one read it. No one cared, to be honest. And I was building a community, like building a brand. So when you're first starting,
essay readers. Yeah, that's a good way to reach an audience, is write long essays.
Yeah. And like, and you know, the other thing is no one wants to hear people bitch. Like, that's just true. No one wants to hear people complain all the time. We get that everywhere we look, the news, like everywhere. So one day I was just like, all right, well, I don't have a lot of time today. I post once a day, but today's not going to happen. So I just reshared a video of like some little kid that was like fighting some stuffed dragon, and they like had this awesome kung fu scene, and he reaches into the stuffed dragon's chest and pulls out some fluff, and the dragon falls over. And I thought that was the funniest, cutest thing. So I just posted it up. I walked away. And when I came back, I had more comments, more reshares, more interaction than I had before. And it kind of helped the light bulb click. I was like, oh, well, people didn't care about this really important information, but they cared a lot about this information that was not important whatsoever. It was just entertainment. So I was like, what if I merge the two? If I make it satirical and I put it out there and I keep posting like a funny video and then a serious video, a funny video and a serious video, what will happen is I think that all of it will kind of start to blend together, and people will be very confused. They'll be like, oh, well, is this a skit or is it real? Oh, wait a minute, this is real. And then so it kind of brings in the humor, but at the same time, it kind of shows people that there's this cult-like mentality that exists. And so once I started to find that line, the page just started to blow up. You know, it wasn't like an accident. It was one of those things where I really had to put in time and effort and work into figuring out, okay, I need to get people information, but at the same time, how do I make them see it?
Yeah, I saw. First of all, I blame you. Since I've opened up your Instagram, I'm actually kind of pissed at you because I've now wasted my bandwidth has been taken up. But so, you know, I'll sit there and watch these, and some of them are hard to watch. So you posted one the other day, and I don't know if, John, you guys see it, but it was just this woman getting teed off on in a class. And, I mean, some of them are funny. That one clearly was not fun. If you're laughing at that, you've got problems. So
I'm sitting here laughing.
Yeah.
I have that image from... if anybody has seen the Foot Fist Way, there's a great scene with Danny McBride.
That's right.
And that's the image that I had in my mind.
Spinning the distracting
back fist.
Back fist. That's the key.
I don't think you're going to like the way this one turns out there, Hotshot.
Yeah. So, you know, you see something like that, and it's how that is even allowed to happen without somebody being arrested. I don't know. And something's paying for that. I mean, that's how brainwashed they're into this thing, where they're willing to pay to get keyed up on by some super grandmaster. And then other ones are hilarious. So it is a really cool mixture and they're hilarious because they're completely blind to the bullshit that's happening around them. And then some are cute. You've got dragons with stuffing coming out. So,
So we actually wanted to run some videos by you. We've pulled some videos off the internet that we think, I don't know. We before we judge them, we want to get. You've been doing this a long time. You've been 6 years. You've been doing this.
Well, I've been running McDojoLife for 6 years. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and you've been in the arts for 20 years.
22. Yeah.
Yeah, so we want to run some videos by you for anybody who's watching this. You if you're listening in the car, you gotta pick that up on YouTube at this point because we got some.
Yeah, by anyone watching, we mean Mike, Scott, and
My mom.
and my grandma. So good to see you, Meemaw. Thanks for watching.
Thanks
Hold
for
on
watching.
1 second.
Thanks for commenting.
That's right.
Yeah, sorry.
Grandma's worse.
Yeah, she's way worse. She's putting her cigarette down right now to go. That ain't nothing.
She just turned off Walker Texas Ranger to join this.
Practicing. Hey, let me ask you. There's a picture, and we'll have to put it up here if we can find it. We'll put it up here in the bottom. There's a picture of Chuck Norris wearing the like super skin tight jeans, and he is doing a high like side kick with those tight jeans on with with his boots on. Would you say that is that an early instance of Photoshop, or do you think he really could get that high kick? Understanding that it's
those are actually Chuck Norris kicking jeans.
Action jeans.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The action jeans.
Those are made with a crotch that's supposed to be just like karate pants, so they're seamed differently on the bottom.
And there, you know what?
this
That's
is
why
why
we
you're
brought
here.
you on. This is you're a wealth of education. Have you ever tried on Chuck Norris action jeans?
I have not, but you know what? I really want to do something with those. They actually, every once in a while, they'll bring them back. Like Century Martial Arts makes those.
Nice. The fact they even go away at all is a travesty.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I don't think we can do a martial arts podcast without throwing out the nod to Chuck Norris. So.
Okay.
Of course.
Robbie, what we want to do is, can you see the video right now?
I can, yeah.
Okay. Just because a lot of people are going to be listening and not watching this, I want to. Can you just give us a quick description of what we're looking at here, real quick?
Well, right now you're looking at 4 gentlemen, one gentleman with a camera pointed at the camera, which is very odd. Mm-hmm. He is obviously a fan of sandwiches.
Yes.
There may or may not be diabetes running through his veins. Also, there's a gentleman sitting down. They're both wearing a white gi. He's just kind of staring awkwardly into space. You got George Dillman in a blue gi on the far left here.
Oh, this is a guy known to you.
Oh, George Dillman is like one of the biggest frauds in the arts, man.
Whoa! Let's not.
He practices what's called Kyosho Jitsu, and
Much respect.
He believes he can knock people out with his mind. And then
Much respect,
I don't know
George.
what the gentleman on the right is, but judging by the fact that absolutely everybody has black belts and is overweight, there doesn't seem to be a lot of standards held up here.
This is where I'm gonna have to draw a line.
I mean, I'm looking at the same picture. I don't see the same thing.
What I see is 4 highly trained martial artists,
Operators,
and I think what you don't know, I haven't learned in your 22 years, is that to be able to knock people out without touching them requires an immense amount of calories. So
the guy in the black pants and the black undershirt under his blue gi. I'm excited to see what's going to happen because
it's Bull Hurley from over the top. Okay, so let's play this and see what happens.
Yeah, the guy with the camera's about to record magic.
Oh Jesus!
Oh my God!
Got him.
What did I tell you?
Got him.
I tell you it's going to be him?
So a really common practice with this is oh my God!
Dude,
Got him with the cheese.
Someone sit him down. There we go.
He looks like Weekend at Bernie's. He's literally asleep standing up.
Oh, the old slap and picture for you there. And healed.
Now, there you go. Sit him up. Now,
Thank God.
I
there's
feel
no
like
club.
I feel like the only thing missing is appropriate like CPR.
or any medical knowledge whatsoever.
or any medical knowledge.
Who's the guy who just got knocked out? I think his name might be. Is it Barry? It is Barry.
Barry's got the most legit technique in the whole building. He's got some rounds.
Okay.
So
what I'm noticing here is that to bring everybody back, it seems to be the same thing every time. It's just someone gets yelled at to sit them up, and then it's a smack across the back of the neck.
is that an advanced like resuscitation technique that we're just that maybe nobody on this call is aware of, or?
So, people ask me about this all the time, and basically all the research that I've seen, there's a lot of explanations online. The funny thing is that Kyoshu Jitsu, very similar to like a lot of martial arts. There are a lot of different styles of karate, right? You have like Shotokan karate, and you have like Kyokushin karate, right? Well, even this ridiculousness that you're looking at has different branches. So there's different types of Kyoshu Jitsu, and they all have a little bit different explanation as to why they do that, but they all do that. The explanation that I've seen reoccur the most is that basically whenever they do the chi knockouts, or whenever they do those like one-touch knockouts, it basically is interfering with their body's internal chakras, basically. And in order to fix that, they have to go and do a very specific ritual. The funny thing is that a lot of them will not do it exactly the same way every time. And magically, even though they don't do it the same way every time, the person is still recovered and revived. Magic.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, I mean that's science right there. The back rub, like it's just like when you do like the sternum rub, bring somebody back from the dead. I don't.
This is
that's kind of.
The next one I'm going to bring up is a young lady. I doubted this one at first, but I've watched it multiple times, and what I want everyone to know what's going on. We're clearly in a
dojo.
Yeah, we're in a dojo. There's
a house of fighting.
There seems to be the same posters a lot in the background.
Yeah, they have the eagle up top.
Mm-hmm. The Asian writing on the wall leads me to believe that this is legit.
Yeah.
The hardwood ceiling? Is that a hardwood ceiling?
It may be.
It is. That's when you do high flying kicks, when you break boards, you can also break boards in the ceiling. That's the intent.
Important.
Another reason I find this legit is she does have a black belt on, Robbie.
That is true. She does have a black belt on. And you know what's different about this video as opposed to most of the videos?
What's that?
There is actually one white belt over there in the corner.
I see him.
He's ready to learn. I'll tell you what, he's coming in with an open mind. I'm not sure that you are, but he's coming in with an open mind, ready to absorb the knowledge.
Well, he definitely came in with an open wallet.
Yeah, that he did.
All right, so
okay, let's play this and
mastery of the martial arts.
And what we're gonna do is
before you play it, look at this quadriplegic in the corner back there with no shirt.
No, that's a rubber dummy. Oh, I see him. Yeah. The guy with no arms, no legs, and is sitting on a post. His name's Bob.
What is he gonna do?
He might be the most effective fighter in this room.
I tell you what, if there's a guy who needs a no-touch knockout, it's him. So I get why he's there. All right, let's hit play.
All right.
Stomach 5 and go
Makes sense. Yep.
Where I keep my stomach 5 in my jaw.
There she goes.
You know, she could have slapped down on that.
Oh, bravo. You know what? I can't help but clap too. I'm moved to clap for that.
I'm speechless.
For those of you who are watching, some young gal with a black belt on, so we got to give her. We don't know her story, but with a black belt on, so we got to give credence there. She gave the old double neck chop to individual, and he didn't just collapse like you might see in the movies. He went flying backwards.
Yeah, well,
she chopped it downward, and it actually sent him lateral, which is, that's a mark of real power.
You know what's even more impressive is she knocked him out in such a way where he was able to catch himself when he fell and cross his own legs on the way up. I'm impressed.
That's because she touched his gallbladder in his neck.
Through his neck.
And that's what makes me believe that she's legit. Very few people understand that the gallbladder is affected by the neck.
How to defy gravity and physics with a certain carotid chop.
So you may think that this isn't real, Robbie, but again, we're going to have to agree to disagree.
Is it just me, or is that guy's foot really dirty?
That's old Grandmaster Dirty Foot. Everyone knows that guy.
It's indisputable.
The smell of defeat is in that gym.
This one is probably one of my all-time favorites.
I like this one too.
Do you know this individual?
This is from some closed circuit TV, like a local access television.
Oh, really?
It was. And you're about to see who they call the human stun gun, and one of his disciples.
Hell yeah.
He's not even a student; he's a disciple. See, that's next level fun. That's JC level stuff.
That is JC.
Now this guy is just the host of the show, but
don't minimize him, Robbie.
And a believer, I might add.
Yeah.
How dare you trivialize his role here, sir?
All right,
he's a believer.
Let's go ahead, Steve.
Our
Loves the
next guest,
beast.
Grandmaster Tom Cameron, uses pressure points and energy beams to drop his enemies to the ground.
So if he resists,
He was definitely not reading a cue card.
Let's stop here. So what we have is a finely tuned martial arts machine in some type of a Indian wrestling grip with a another gentleman, and I'm not quite sure. Let's hit play and see where this goes.
That is what the perfect male body looks like.
And I will say that the stars in the background give me the appearance that they might be on like a middle school stage, or there may have been a middle school play going on earlier in that day in that dojo. Again, good opportunity to have a second source of revenue for your dojo.
Yeah.
and I say me, he's not able to resist me any longer. I can fight it, she can't get me. But if she uses that word,
Me.
Whoa.
See, that's a very selfish technique if you think about it. It's all about me, I.
Why? Or was it knee, like the knights who say knee from Monty Python? Knee. And you remember how it like the knights were like they cowered in fear. So it may have been actually may have not been me. I thought
Maybe
it was
we're mishearing it. Maybe it's knee.
Maybe that it could. Listen, the power that she generated by saying those words. I don't know. Maybe it's because she's a red belt. I'm not. He went flying into some type of wooden,
like something that they change behind in cartoons.
Right.
Right. And it's serious because I mean, look at him. What does he weigh? A solid 5, 650, something like that.
This guy's rocking his sweet deep V-neck, and I love it.
He's got the glasses on, reminiscent of some sort of '80s sitcom. I feel like he was the neighbor. He was the neighbor dad in every '80s sitcom.
I've seen that guy at every flea market I've ever been to.
Yeah, he's trying to peddle knives and throwing stars every flea market.
He looks a lot like my neighbor, who I cannot stand.
Oh man, fuck your neighbor.
Yeah. Well, that's because he's a black belt, a trained black belt, and you reek of envy, friend.
Okay.
And that's what it is. I'm not up to par with his level of V-neck.
That's so
You know what he's missing? He's missing a really hairy chest and some gold chains.
Dude, I just smell Stetson just by watching this video. Okay, some Brute 33 maybe. What is that? Hold on.
Samantha is going to try for her first time.
I'm nervous for her.
Actually knock me out.
He came out to the microphone.
Just the sound and the energy projection.
Look how nervous he is with it, just trying to explain that. Oh, look! Arms up and everything.
Got him. Good job,
Flip him. She even yelled, "Flip him." She knows the technique.
Because we operate with an electro system in our nervous system, that somehow we've been able to develop the ability to interfere with the nervous system.
Can you go back at half a second?
Kind
Why is the interviewer on one knee?
When they talk to children, they say it's best to hop on a knee and make eye contact.
Yeah. Yes, it's a fair point.
All right.
That somehow we've been able to develop
Give me
the
your
ability
chair,
to interfere
or I'll
with the
knock you
nervous
out
system.
my mind.
It kind of acts like a circuit breaker or a reboot system for a computer.
How long have you been practicing these techniques before you were able to make someone fall with sound and motion?
A couple years.
That's what it takes. That's an art that you really need to learn. One that only takes a couple years to master how to knock someone out with your mind.
Yeah. Speaking of pedophiles,
Yeah.
That's just low hanging fruit. We don't have to go down that road. That's just low hanging fruit.
Okay.
All right.
Moving on. Now, this next one, one of the biggest reasons I think this one is legit. The other ones were a joke. If I look at the name of this file, it says, Robbie, you're wrong. This is real. So
It's
let's.
the best name of a
It's sort
file
of
ever.
inherent right in. Oh, look at these guys we have not seen this yet in any of the videos we watch. They are actually doing the kung fu bow to each other. Bow to your sensei. Bow to your sensei.
So this is the Akaru, I think it says what it's called, if I remember.
Onward.
Well, to set the scene for anybody who's listening, we have two individuals here in an obvious dojo. They have some kicking dummies there, and on the wall,
Some legit weapons.
some legit weapons. Some batons. Looks like a large stick. And
Why, thank you. Oh, you're talking about the video.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Come on. Stay with us, Robbie.
It is a room full of weapons and intensity.
I smell
Just oozing.
respect.
That's what I see. I see nothing but respect.
I
Let's.
see a back
This
problem
is,
with the guy on the left.
this
He's
is
got
the-
a little scoliosis.
That could definitely be Kip from Napoleon Dynamite, and there's what was his name from was it Bow to Your Sensei? Was the Bow to Your Sensei the
I
guy
forget
from
his name.
Rex Kwon-Do, man.
Rex Kwon-Do?
Yes.
By the way, if you're listening to this and you've never noticed, you got to go back and watch in Napoleon Dynamite. Look at the rules of Rex Kwon-Do as he's talking, as Rex is talking, and you'll see it's one of the more hilarious but yet overlooked elements of comedy in that movie. He's got the rules for Rex Kwon-Do up in the back of the dojo as he's talking.
Yeah. Let's hit play.
Okay.
I don't know how to respond to that. It's,
Well, isn't all the rules have something to do with his name? It's like Rex is always right or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
You think I go home to Scarla with this?
Looking like this guy.
Okay.
what?
What I'm doing
Oh,
is
yeah.
the Akaru.
Blocked
The
right
Akaru
there.
is designed
Now the
to be
fist
a
of death.
block and a strike at the same time, moving the arm up.
One
Once
hand
I
on the
set
hip.
my foot down, this is what you call a cat
Is that the cat stance?
stance. My
Yes.
foot
It's a cat
is
stance.
All right,
strategically
good.
placed so that if
you're
there is a
trained.
movement forward, there's an easy strike
Got
to
him.
the groin. This hand
old
is going
testes.
to come back
Got him.
down now because there is no wasted movement. Opening up into the tiger claw. Tiger claw
Deadly.
opens.
Model
hits
of
with the palm
efficiency.
into the jaw. Moving the jaw.
I hope that guy's barber is better than his karate instructor. Oh, he's not.
Chambering up for a block.
Look at no
Hiding behind the
inefficiency.
knee in case there is a
We have an
further attack.
exceptionally
Then
dirty
bringing my
hippie
momentum
instructor here
down
today.
And then up into him.
I just smell
Hands stay
patchouli oil.
center so
at
that
that,
I
look
will
at
be able to push.
Bet you he wears Birkenstocks.
Not only striking his body, but striking more directly his lungs.
He's got two sets of nunchucks hanging up in the back. I'm not going to mess with this guy.
You know, I got to give this guy credit. He did take the time out of his very busy scheduling of protesting in Philadelphia to come here and teach this technique.
Dude, he's got a back order of sandals he makes out of tires that he's got to get to, and he's busy. And plus, I think one of his tonfas is out of whack. We might want to.
I like the way he pushes elbows like straight out. Like that's how my kids eat at the dinner table, elbows straight out, and they're always like wrestling for space. That's how this guy pushes, arms straight out and pushing. There must be something about generating power that way. I thought it came from the hips. It apparently comes from
You're wrong.
elbows out.
No, it's
You know,
definitely.
the dude on the left kind of looked like Badger from Breaking Bad.
It does.
That's what happened in between scenes. He was training his karate.
Can you see this one now? Right,
I
you see-
can.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Don't. Hey, listen.
I remember this one.
Yeah. This one is also titled "This Isn't Fake." So, let's see, Command F.
So this one confused the hell out of me because if you look, it's such a strange setup. Like it's the flooring is just like a regular, like almost like a cafeteria flooring in a way, almost like a rubber kind of flooring. Like this could have been a dance studio
Or an
And then-
insane
but it's got
asylum.
two bags in the background, right? But
Oh, yeah.
they put seating in here, and it's a very small room. Like you can kind of tell that the room, like the cameraman is at the very edge of this room, and the instructor, if you look at his damn shoes, his shoes kind of lace up like some high class heels,
Hell yeah.
like wrap around his legs there. But he's wearing these capris as well. The whole scene is just odd before you even start. And look at the podium. The podium makes no damn sense. It's pressed all the way against the wall, right? Like it's obviously for like some type of equipment or whatever, but they have that one light on top of the podium with this very inconvenient cord that goes all the way down for no apparent reason at all. Very strange.
Well, I mean, to the untrained, it looks as you described it. To me, I see a house of concentration and focus.
I see a well-run dojo.
Well-run dojo
with a podium for Shaquille O'Neal. I'm not sure
what's going on.
And he looks like he's brought in a bunch of potential
recruits.
Yeah,
for the cult. I mean, for the. Yeah.
That's right. Let's
I like to call these believers. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna hit play, and see.
Watch the magic happen.
That's right.
Look at that.
Oh, exercising the demons in here.
He's got some Mr. Miyagi action going on, rubbing the hands, but yet, you're right, he has to have something weird going on with those socks or shoes.
Look at the tie-ups. I can't even look at anything but the shoes.
Oh, now he's going in for the kill shot. Oh, he tickled him.
Ooh, a little
tickle monster. Gotcha, tickle monster.
Look at the believers. I see everybody in the audience going for their wallets. They're like, I want some of this. I want you to do this to me. I want to pay money for having this happen to me.
I think the wallet's to put on his tongue so he doesn't swallow it.
I mean, you can see the demons escaping his body right now.
What's homeboy off in the corner?
Yeah, what's it? He may actually be a trained EMT who's like, oh, there you go, your wire.
You know what that's like? It's like when a couple's hanging out, having like a drink or two, and then there's a guy creeping on the three-way. It's kind of what's going on there.
Yeah, that guy coming in.
I don't know what kind of dates you're on where a woman's flopping all over the floor, Robbie. That seems enjoyable.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that was fake, but I don't think I could recreate those body movements that that convulsion he was put into like that.
Laughing and also writhing in pain at the same time.
It's like the Joker.
It's a talent.
Let's see what isn't talent
by the Grandmaster. I mean, put somebody
I'm
in that
impressed. I'm impressed by his sheer ability to keep a straight face in that moment. Honestly, that's a tough one.
All right, so the next question is, what are some of the ramifications? What's happened? You've put these people out before, and what's come of that?
Well, I've had there was one. If you looked at one of the videos that you posted, which is ironic enough, there's a gentleman that was on there. His back patch said Stewart, and that gentleman's name is Steve Stewart, who was just recently promoted to, I do believe, 10th degree black belt in that particular art.
Preach.
Yeah, you gotta keep track of these crazy people, man. But in any case, one of his students had 3 studios in Australia, and they were doing this no-touch garbage years ago. And when I put them on blast, 2 of those studios have closed since. All 3 studios, within 2 days of me posting up their stuff, they went from 5-star reviews to 1-star reviews.
That's gotta be rewarding, no? That's really got to feel good.
Knowing you took jobs away from people.
On one hand, you understand that it's kind of like yanking religion out from under them. You got to remember, like, there are people who really believe this. And so when you take that away from them, it's like a real hard shock to them. Their mentor is a fraud. Oh my God, I've been doing this for 19 years of my life. What do I do now? They have families, they have kids, that is their sole source of income usually. So you got to take the good with the bad. On one hand, yeah, you're saving a lot of people from some grief and being taken advantage of financially, right? Which is great. Well, on the other hand, you are wrecking someone else's life. It is a part of it.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of identity in some of these wackadoos that are following this, that once that foundation is crumbled, it's like you've taken a big part of their life away.
So
and that's when the death threats come.
I was going to ask you, right? So what's the ramifications? And that's sort of where the next logical question, right? So you're taking away something from somebody who's like, some of these guys really believe this bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So have you seen any kind of like fallback? Have people sent you death threats? Have people like tried to fucking, I don't know, stalk you or whatever?
I've had some weird death threats. Like, I get them quite a bit. I don't get them nearly as much now because I put those people on blast so hard earlier. Yeah. So now they understand, like, I'll hunt you down and find out who you are and make sure that people are aware that you're out there threatening people. Like, I have no problem calling the cops on you. And I always have a gun. So I'm not worried about that as much either, right. But I did have one that was very concerning, and it made me kind of like stray away from talking about anything personal or where I am and stuff like that. Yeah. But I was at, I do believe it was like a tournament, and I just stopped by it at the tournament, and I was just hanging out. And then I got a random direct message from like a very anonymous like Instagram post, and they were like, "Hey man, I know where you're at." And I was like, "That's weird." And I moved on with my day. But then they told me that I guess I had disrespected an instructor of theirs, something like that, to that extent. And they told me that when I got outside, they were going to shoot me. And so I just kind of waited right. inside the tournament and hung out with the promoter and helped them out, break down and set up. And I walked out with them. Nothing came of it, but to have somebody anonymously tell you where you are, what you're wearing that day, and they understand that when you leave that you're going to walk out to your car by yourself, and they're going to shoot you. Those are very red flaggy, creepy things to deal with.
Yeah, that's a different level. Yeah,
you got to start taking that kind of stuff pretty seriously. So that's when I started carrying pretty much as I could. I don't typically wear any protection, any body armor or anything like that, although they make some great lightweight body armor nowadays. Right. But I don't do any of that, but I always do carry if I legally can, just because.
So hey, Rob, just I'm going to stop you one sec here, just because I might give you a call back. Your picture is completely frozen.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, can you take the video off and then put it back on?
Yeah, sure, not a problem. Let me see.
Not hanging up, but just taking your video off.
Oh, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
Here, let me just change cameras real fast. Let me see if that'll do it.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
There you go.
Are we still recording?
There you go. I got you. Yep.
Cool.
All right, cool.
All right, so you've had death threats. You've had somebody threaten you that they're going to shoot you when you walk out. What are some of the other ramifications that have happened from putting people out on blast like this?
Usually that's the biggest thing. I mean, I'm very careful about libel and slander. I make sure that whatever I say is either stated as opinion or is a hard fact. I try not to push anything out there that's just false. I don't say yo, so-and-so did this without any proof or evidence. So that kind of keeps me away from having to deal with any legal issues.
Sure.
But other than that, the death threats is the worst. And then, the comment section, it's very difficult to bring the community together. I notice the martial arts community is so segregated. It's ridiculous. Karate people still only want to go do karate. They don't care about any other arts. Jiu-jitsu people only care about jiu-jitsu. They don't want to do anything else. The only glue that kind of holds it all together is what everybody doesn't like, it seems like that. But when you start getting into little nitpicky details, people get really upset that I don't post stuff that they send me. They'll send me something of Taekwondo, and I'll be like, yo, that's what Taekwondo looks like. I'm not going to post it. It's not fraudulent. That's what it is. And they're like, oh, you don't know what fake is. Dude, I told you, I have very clear set of 5 rules. Pick one, make sure it fits those, and I'll probably post it. But if not, it's not getting posted.
Sure. So an ineffective technique doesn't make it a fraudulent technique. It just makes it not whatever, a Taekwondo kind of strike, doing one of these is, it's not ineffective. It's just not fraudulent.
Yeah, and it also depends on the context in which that it's delivered. Context is huge, right? If you see people chambering their hand, in traditional karate or Taekwondo, typically, there's a reason for that. That's for reaching out, grabbing a hold of somebody and pulling them as you punch them, right? People are like, oh, that's ridiculous. I'm like, all right, well, let's vision, for instance, me trying to get a grip on your sleeve in jiu-jitsu and me pulling you close to me. What would that look like in the air? Oh, it would look the exact same damn way. But context is so important. Why are you doing that? What's the purpose and reasoning? So it's all just kind of a lot of perspective. And a lot of people who do one art but have never done another are kind of looking at something. If you looked at shrimping from jiu-jitsu, for instance, and you watch the guy doing solo floor drills, you'd be like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then when somebody takes the time to go, this is what it's for, you go, oh, okay. And so that's what a lot of arts are like.
Have you been invited to any of these dojos? Well, like that gentleman you mentioned earlier, has anyone ever said, "Hey, come here and we're going to show you how it works"?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and do no touch knockout on you, or do they just know flat out that it's just fraud?
Well, most of the time, if they invite me to their dojo, it's because they are challenging me because they feel like I am a dude who runs an Instagram account for a living, that I'm like some fat chud who like sits behind my counter and eats Cheetos all day.
Right.
So it's usually like people who own karate schools or stuff like that. Like, hey man, come on down and train so we can see what you got. It's like, I'm not gonna fight you, stupid. Like, why? What's the point? Like, what? Let's say hypothetically that, I don't know, John Jones fought another MMA fighter somewhere in there. Just because John Jones beat him, does that mean that the other guy's a fraud? No. So like, I get challenged all the time. Usually I just say no. Like, what's the point? Like,
Right.
It doesn't prove anything. Like, if I beat you, it doesn't prove that you're a fraud. If you beat me, it doesn't prove that I suck. It
Right.
just proves you're better than me, or it proves I'm better than you. It doesn't actually prove the issue at hand, which is fraudulence.
To that point, have you ever had anybody then? And I think I recall there was something on one of your social media things before where somebody didn't want to fight you, but they wanted to say, oh, to prove that I can do it because, and I want to say it was something to do with like a guy who said that women you shouldn't be advocating for women to be martial artists or something like that.
Yeah,
I think
that was like the first thing that ever went viral for us. Yeah, man. Like, there was a dude online who was a friend of a friend. He used to date a friend of mine. And so he was on my personal Facebook account, not McDojoLife. He didn't even know I ran it.
Yeah.
And then he started talking crap to my students. He was like, basically, it's ridiculous and it was unsafe for females to take martial arts because there's no way that a female would ever beat a man, ever, no matter how much training she had and no matter how little training he had. And then so he kept doing that and he was like messing with my clients. And I was like, dude, I know that you're wrong. Like, I'm not saying that some training is better than no training, because there's definitely some training that will get you hurt, just straight up. Like a self-defense course that you take over a weekend, yeah, you're probably going to learn more that's going to get you hurt than not. But if you're taking hours upon hours of training over years, you're going to get better at this art and you're going to be able to protect yourself better. You'll make better judgment calls. You'll be less likely to freak out when you're you'll be able to recognize positions easier. But
and is this
anyway,
before
all this crap.
Is this like when Ronda Rousey's already like a well-known entity and sort of like some of the other females? So he knows that there are women out there who
that will mess you up.
Yeah,
man.
Who
like
can
Chris
fucking
Cyborg,
deliver a punch.
Gabby Garcia, all of these ladies will rip your face off, But
he's saying just across the board, women shouldn't, because he can take any woman.
Exactly. And that was his point. And he said, I was like, well, why don't you put your money where your mouth is? I was like, I'll find you a pro fighter to fight. And he was like, I guarantee you, even with a pro fighter, he said, it's still 80% in my favor. And I said, okay. So I took that and I ran with it. I posted up on my Facebook page at the time. And I said, all right, $2,000 to any female fighter who's willing to fight this dude or spar this guy.
And this is your own cash you're putting up.
My own money.
Yeah.
And then after that, people were like, dude, I donate to see that. I donate to see that. I donate to make that happen. I was like, well, it is going to be more expensive than that. I have to fly this person out and blah, blah, blah. So we wind up doing a donation for her to do a seminar at the same location that he would be in. And so people were paying to see her fly out to be at the seminar and then being in the same building, and maybe they spar.
So this thing is just growing and growing at this point. It's just getting.
So I think we raised over like $6,000 within a matter of 4 weeks.
Okay.
Wow. And then of course, like, everybody was like, at this point, there was articles written about this in languages I couldn't read. It was like the #1 post on Reddit at one point. Like, it was a big deal. And so everybody wanted to see this troll get eaten alive. And so I was trying to be as transparent as humanly possible. Like, most promoters are really shady. So I was like, I'm not going to be shady. I'm going to be transparent. So every little thing that went wrong, I told everybody. And every little thing that went right, I told everybody. But of course, the internet loves to see people fail. So as soon as like my first fighter basically backed out, I was like, oh, well, the fighter backed out because of an eye issue. And I was like, okay, no problem. I was like, I still got like 2 weeks left. So I had another fighter on call. It was between two fighters, and one of the fighters was like, yeah, I can do it, but I do have a fight the weekend before. And I was like, okay, well, as long as you're going to be able to make this fight, I don't mind. Well, she wound up getting tore up by somebody who actually won a UFC contract during that fight. And she showed me a picture, and it looked like she got hit in the face multiple times by a 2x4. And I was like, well, obviously you can't fight. So I had to scramble the week before to find like somebody who would replace. And I found my replacement, and they wind up.
And you're now on your
to,
third fighter.
Yeah, third fighter in like in a couple weeks. So needless to say, every time that happened, you know, it made it look bad. People were like, oh, it's not real. It's never going to happen. I was like, well, I'm just being transparent, telling you guys the truth. Like, this is what's happening. And of course,
not good enough for the internet.
Yeah, he ate it up, man. Every time I lost a fighter, he was just like talking trash. I knew she was scared, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then finally they made it happen. And then we were in Orlando for them to like meet and spar. And then as soon as I was set up, ready to go, he walks in, which I could not stand this guy. Like, I really wanted to fucking punch him in his mouth because he was talking mad shit. And then I was like, okay, well, he's here. I can't fight him. He's got a fight that he has to do. I'll just be professional. But as soon as he walked in, like a minute later, a cop walks in. And the cop was like, hey, like, this is over. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, this isn't going to happen. I was like, he goes, if this happens, you're going to jail. And I was like, for what? He was like, this is illegal. I was like, no, it's not. 2 people are allowed to spar. There's nothing illegal. In a martial arts studio, there's nothing illegal about 2 people sparring, whether it's a man and a female or not. He was like, well, people are getting paid for this. I was like, no. I was like, first of all, it's being streamed for free, so people can watch it for free. And I was like, anybody who shows up is showing up to take her seminar, which is what we were raising money for. And I was like, if those 2 decide to spar.
So he was there on behalf of a local police department, or I'm confused.
State Athletic Commission, basically. So the State Athletic Commission basically stepped in, and they were trying to find all the ways that it was wrong. Then afterwards, they actually did give us citations, but I'll get to that. But, you know, so we had to shut it down. Then we all went on live, and we talked to everybody live and like, hey, this didn't happen because A, B, and C.
Who's we?
Me, the fighter, and the troll. We all went on live.
Really?
Yeah, we went live just to tell people, like, look, man, like, this is what just happened. Like I said, we want to be transparent and be fair.
Yeah, but this is it's just there's sort of a funny moment there, I guess.
It was
2
weird.
people are about to kick the shit out of each other, and you disliking this troll who is continue to call you out, but yet the 3 of you have to come together to be like, hey, listen, we're literally trying to fight each other.
Yeah, we have to. Like, what choice do we have? You know, like, we just kind of got put in a position where we had to sit down and explain to people what happened. And the only way to do that is if all 3 of us were there telling people, like, look, this is exactly what happened, you know?
Yeah.
And what was a reaction? Did that just feed into this is bullshit thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People were all over it. Like, oh, my God. Well, and people, you got to figure, people had paid money for this, too. Like, people had spent money to get her from point A to point B. And so they, you know, luckily, to be honest, all the people, I had oh my God, I didn't even tell you guys the best part. So none of this went the way it was supposed to, right? So 2 weeks before the fight was supposed to happen, or the sparring match is supposed to happen, the venue calls and tries to pull out, right? So I had to make some arrangements and fix that. Then after that, the day before the match, I'm supposed to be airing this on Facebook Live. Facebook sends me a notification that apparently I broke a copyright infringement law on one of my previous posts from like 2 years before, and they put me in Facebook jail for 7 days. The day before I'm supposed to be airing this live. And so I figured out a way, luckily because it was on a luckily because I had already created an event and I was going to be showing it inside the event, I just made another account and then I could still air it, so that saved me. But so I have all this stress and all of a sudden it doesn't. At night, I like drink and smoke myself to a coma, right? I was just upset. It made everything look bad. It didn't look good. And then so the next day I go out and I go have to breakfast, and we all actually go out to breakfast together to figure out how we're going. What's the next step? We need to figure. And then so they both agreed that day. They said, hey, we still want to make this happen. We still want to fight. And I was like, that's awesome. So we found a place, an undisclosed location. We made it happen there. We filmed it. We didn't do it live because of the same issues that may have occurred. So we filmed it and then we put it out there afterwards. And of course,
I got to stop you for half a second. So you're at breakfast the next morning. You, again, the 3 of you are sitting there having breakfast. The 2 people are going to fight this individual that you this individual that you just don't care for at all, but the three of you are sitting there working together to make sure this thing happens. That, I mean, I'm in my head. It just has the most awkward.
Oh, it gets
sense.
more awkward. It
All right,
gets
so go
more
ahead.
awkward because on the way to the next location, right?
Yeah.
He's on a plane, I'm on a plane, and we happen to land at the same time. And so we meet at baggage claim. And I don't like this dude. And like, I don't think he likes me. And I don't, but at the same time, we're going to the same place. So we wind up sharing an Uber. And on the way, he starts telling me about how he's going to win. And this is the most interesting thing. You can see it in the video if you ever watch the video. But on the way, he starts telling me, he was like, if I hit her, it's going to make me look really bad. I'm like, you already look really bad.
Yeah.
But he goes, if I
That ship
hit her,
sailed.
it's going to make me look even
Mission
worse.
accomplished.
And so I was like, yeah, like that is going to make you look bad. Like, I'm sorry, no matter how this goes, you don't look good. He was like, but I bet you if I just overpower her and take her to the ground, that I can still win. And he was basically saying like how he could beat jiu-jitsu. And I was like, yeah, you go for it. This person he's about to be going against is like a 2-time, like I think IBJJF gold medalist. Like I don't think that she's going to have a problem on the ground. And she was like a pro MMA fighter who at one time had a 15-0 streak. Like she's not to be trifled with. So he winds up having that. And then I wind up talking to her. And then she was like, yeah, I want to take him down. I don't want to take the chance that he might one-off shot me with like a lucky punch and knock me out, which is a possibility. She goes, I'm just going to take him down.
So you're aware of this from both of these, but you're not disclosing one's strategy to the other. You just know that they are both now saying they're going to go to the ground, but she knows that she's dominant that way.
Yeah.
Is this
awesome?
So I'm just sitting back like listening, and I was like, okay, whatever. And the rules were if you look in the video, they both had the MMA gloves on. They both are ready to be having a full contact, to drag out fight, but neither one of them wanted to engage in a striking match because of their concerns. He didn't want to do it because he was worried he was going to look like a woman beater, and she didn't want to do it because she thought that she would lose in a striking match to a gentleman, because that's the one chance that he really had of winning. And so
was he a big dude? I'm sorry. Was he a big guy? Like, what was this guy like?
They were the same weight. That was the thing. They had to be the same weight.
Okay.
So, that just because it wanted to be as equal across the board, the actual experiment was, could a trained female fighter beat an untrained male?
Okay.
And now, come to find out afterwards, like, of course, he was like, was taking some jiu-jitsu lessons with a friend who was a purple belt. And like, you can see like a lot of people even commented like, looks kind of like he knows what he's doing. Yeah, he took a couple classes like with a dude, but he wasn't like trained. But yeah, he was trying to circ the system a little bit by training for the fight, even though he said he wasn't, which we knew.
Yeah.
But she told me straight up she didn't train for the fight at all. Like, and I confirmed that with the coach. The coach was like, even saying after the fight was over, he was like, I was really worried because you didn't train for this, and we told you to train for this, and like, so she didn't train at all while he was training, but she had all these years of martial arts.
As I say, she's pretty much been training her entire life at this point.
Exactly.
So,
So take us to the fight now.
So basically, and where the video opens up is like, we all arrived. We all like, we sat down. We had the rules set up. There was another gentleman there who helped me hold the camera and also referee. So he was holding the camera and refereeing, making sure that everything was on the up and up. And then I was holding a camera. And then before it got started, I interviewed both of them before and after, because I wanted to get their thoughts. And so basically, like, all of these different groups, like these women's groups, these political groups had like claimed this as their thing, which was an utter lie. Like, all these women's rights groups were like, this is a great stand for women. Like, if you knew this fighter, she didn't want anything to do with any of that crap. As a matter of fact, she was so against any of that. And I was too. It's not a political statement. Yeah. It's not like, is boys better than girls? It is about martial arts.
It's not war of the sexes.
An untrained man.
And she didn't want to be a political pawn for any of this.
Yeah, exactly. And so she went on and talked about how, like, basically, like, this is all just for the experiment. It has nothing to do with any political groups. Then he came on. He said whatever he said. Basically, he just kind of doubled down on the fact that, he truly believed that he was going to win, and, stuff like this. And then so they went after it. And then as soon as they go after it, she slips, like, right off the bat. And of course, like, my heart sinks into my butthole. I'm like, oh my God, like a little slip, and that's all it takes. But he immediately goes after her. He goes to her back. He tries to sink in a rear naked choke. And this is where somebody who trains and somebody who doesn't train comes out, because he went all out on that rear naked choke and tries to squeeze her neck off, right, to get that tap. Well, she's been doing this before. So if this is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, if you're going to go for a rear naked choke, you need to know what you're doing. And so her chin's down and he's gassing his arms out, and she's relaxed, chilling, waiting. He's even in back mount. So she's just relaxed, waiting.
Are you relaxed, though?
Yeah.
Are you relaxed at this point?
Yeah. How are you feeling?
Oh, at that time, I'm nervous as shit. I can tell he doesn't have it in, but even with a rear naked choke that's not all the way in, they can still turn it into a neck crank or still crank on your jaw. It's not comfortable no matter what. But she understood the mistake that she made. She relaxed. She countered. She winds up moving to a better position. They both wind up standing up, and they both wind up clenching, standing and clenching. And at that time, they both kind of let out a little bit of a laugh. And I think that they laughed simply because of, one, they were probably both very, very, very nervous. And two, at this point, it's almost comical to the fact that, like, I think he was laughing because I think he felt like he had the upper hand. Like he got to a dominant position and like, oh, you got out, okay. And I think she laughed because she was aware at that moment that she knew it was over. He was in trouble.
This was coming. Yeah.
And so like they both just kind of both let out this laugh. And in my head, I'm like, that doesn't look good, but I can kind of see it. Like I was like, it's at this point, the whole thing is just so goddamn funny to me. I don't even care. And then so she winds up getting to a dominant position. She works her way to side control about 5 minutes in, and he taps. He taps to the one thing that he said he had advantage over, which was his cardio and his athleticism. So he taps because he was tired. He literally says, I can't breathe. You can see it in the video. And then he taps and quits. Verbal tapping because of side control pressure. And then so, of course, we shut the camera off, and I was like, you know you're doing that again, right? He goes, I'm about to throw up. I was like, well, then you go throw up, and then you come back and you finish. But all of this that we've had to go through, like the 3 months that this took to make happen, I was like, you're going to come back in here, and we're going to have an actual finish to this. Like, there's going to be a real submission, not I quit because I can't breathe. That's a piece of crap. Right. And so we turn the camera back on. They go back to round 2. He tries for an Eminari roll, which he has no clue what he's doing. He basically just looks like he jumps onto his back and rolls around. She just kind of backs up, looks at him like he's stupid. She winds up taking a dominant position. She winds up mounting him and then getting an arm bar. And then that was it. That was the game. You know, they both went after it. They both agreed to doing this. They even went out of their way to still make sure it would still happen, even after it got shut down. And then I interview them. And, you know, I interview him first, of course. I got to know, like, what his thoughts are. He doubles down again. He's still...
After being beat.
After getting beat twice, he still doubles down. He was like, yeah, as you can clearly see, you know, I had to take advantage in the beginning, and I was dominant most of the fight. Like, you lost.
What?
You lost.
Well, I mean, you're a tool. I'm sorry to cut you out. You're a tool to even be involved in this in the first place. Anyone's going to come out. I mean, you can't be surprised. All of a sudden, he's not going to come to you and say, you know what?
I had an epiphany.
Yeah, you were right. She's better. Maybe I should train some more. Thanks for everybody for coming out.
It would have been the one way he could have saved face.
Yeah, well,
right.
You know, he could have made himself look better. He could have been like, you know what? In this case, I was wrong. I still believe I could. But he didn't even say in this case. He was just like, yeah, I still think most men can beat women even if they train. Like, dude, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And then, so he made himself look bad. And then after that, I interviewed her, and she was, very polite, very humble, and you can tell, like, she was a little tired. But then again, like, they went at it for like 6 minutes, almost 7 minutes. Yeah. So, of course, they're going to be a little tired. But it was very interesting, the whole thing and how it happened. And that was probably the first like big push of like what made McDojoLife become what it is now, which was the fact that this happened and basically calling somebody out on their bullcrap.
Do you think, and I know you're probably going to get going, but do you think if that fight had gone a different direction, it would have affected the direction that McDojoLife or where McDojoLife is now?
No, because I don't think that my job is to tell people how to think. I think my job is to present the evidence and people make their own decisions. So had it gone the other way, it would have been the same result. Here's the evidence, make your own decisions. That's all there is to it. And I think the biggest thing was that I stuck to my word. Even after getting subpoenaed by the State Athletic Commission in Florida, which we got to wipe our asses with because it didn't happen in Florida. So suck my balls, Athletic Commission. but because it didn't happen there. So, but I was a man of my word. I told people what was going to happen, and I did everything in my power, even after talking with the police, even after getting in trouble with the State Athletic Commission. I still made it happen because that is the most important part. You got to have a little bit of integrity here, and then people had paid to see this. People had paid because they wanted to make sure that she was taken care of, and so I think that it's very important that you follow up with what you say, and whatever you say, you stick with. It could have went a bad way had it not happened.
Yeah.
Like had I just given up on it and be like, oh well, the state's involved and the police are involved. Now
Right.
I can't because I don't want to go to jail.
Right. Then your street cred is taken account. Hey Robbie, we want to thank you very much for coming out, man. One more time. Plug you. We want to let you give you an opportunity to plug your digits on where people can find you.
Yeah, man. You can find me pretty much on absolutely every social media under McDojoLife.
That's MCDOJO, right?
Yes, sir. MCDOJO Life. All one word. But under Reddit, it's the McDojoLife, simply because somebody got there first and took my name. So you suck, McDojoLife at Reddit, because you already know that was mine, you butthole.
So you are the McDojoLife on Reddit, but everywhere else it's McDojoLife. McDojoLife.
And I just started TikTok. So
cool. Very cool.
Awesome.
Awesome. Hey, listen, Robbie, thanks again. This has been great. We appreciate it, and look forward to seeing your newest videos coming up.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, cool. Thanks, Rob. Okay, that's it. That's it from us here at the Kill Cliff Podcast. Boys from Entreprenerds Comedy. I want to say thanks for checking us out. Pass it on, man. Download it. Give us a rating. Do whatever you got to do. And have a good week, man. We'll check you out next time.